Welcome to ADHD Whiskey. If you're new here, my name is Matt. Today, we have a little bit of a duel, a little bit of a one-on-one, a little bit of a head-to-head. Today, we're doing an old-school bourbon skirmish. Which two whiskeys are being locked in the cage, going mano-y-mano in this bourbon skirmish? You obviously know because you saw the thumbnail and read the title, so no surprise. Tonight, it's Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch 1 versus Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch 2. Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch number 1 was my 2023 Whiskey of the Year. America. And it will go on the glass labeled 1. Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch number 2, I received a media sample of a few months back, and when I tasted it, I said, what the heck is that? Because I thought that Batch number 1 was far superior to number 2. But now that I have a bottle in my hands, thanks to a beautiful friggin' Mark Boyer, gangster, I can finally see for myself if my initial thoughts were true. Is Batch number 1 greater than Batch number 2? That's what we're here to find out. America. Both of these Tennessee whiskeys carry a 12-year age statement, and both of them weigh in at 107 proof. 107 proof. I have not tried Batch 1 for so long. It's been so long since I've tried Batch 1. Batch number 2 has had a few weeks of air in it, so I think it's only fair that it can go at it with Batch number 1 inside this limited rule set of Matt tasting them. In order for me to properly blind myself in a situation like this, it's only fair that I call in some support. Bring in the Julie-like wheel of confusion. All right. Coming to a stop. I grab them off, put the board down against stuff, and now we nose. First glass. Smells wonderful. First glass smells deliciously Jack Daniels-like. Fruity and oaky. That is what some filmmakers would call the best lovemaking scene they've ever shot. Oh, so good. This has the nose of a whiskey that makes you take a step back if you were on your feet, or scoot your butt back if you were on a stool. It makes you rethink things like, why does all the best food have the most calories? Why is bowling so hard? Why did I grow breasts like a woman? Why did they make a leaf blower instead of a leaf sucker? Would just make more sense. Just questions that you have to ask yourself. It makes you really rethink stuff. Oh, it smells so good. Now let's smell the next glass. Give it a little swirl, a little SJ, a little spin job, a little swirl job. Give it a ride on the old whiskey tilt-a-whirl. Really bully this thing and give it the whiskey twister. Now we go for a nose of glass 2. Whew. Glass 2 is also very potent, also very aromatic. Good word. The second glass is filling the air with just as much aroma as glass number 1, but glass number 2's aroma is not quite as much fun. Glass number 2 seems to be a bit more fruity, so just based off of smelling these two batches side by side, it is fair to say that they are definitely different. Which one is better? There's only one way to find out, and that is to believe me while I taste them. Then I'll tell you. We started nosing glass number 1 first, so it's only fair that glass number 2 gets tasted second. So, glass number 1 down the hatch. very grapey, very like full-bodied and full red wine finish on there. I think, which is very strange, but hear me out, a lot of people get a very banana note off of Jack Daniels. I get a very red wine note off of Jack Daniels. And for some reason, the more I dive into this deeply, the more I believe that my red wine note is other people's banana note, which sounds crazy. But welcome to ADHD Whiskey, my name is Matt. Shit is weird around here. Some oak tannins are on the back, kind of hanging and lingering on the back. Mouthfeel is viscous, but not like super crazy viscous. Now we move to glass 2. Glass 2 down the hatch. Wow. Oh yeah. Glass 2 is doing the things in my mouth that the best things that have ever been in my mouth have done in my mouth. Just magical mouth stuff. Magical mouth stuff. Glass number 1 on the nose came off more like full-bodied. Glass number 1 on the palate came off like super aggressively fruity and super aggressively red. That Jack Daniels yeast that they use, that fruity yeast, just shined through on glass 1. Glass number 2, much more like mellowed out, much more like refined. Overall, from the front of the palate to the back of the palate was just like much more well-rounded and oily. The oak profile on glass number 2 was much more prominent and added an extra layer of complexity while also adding an extra layer of flavor. Glass number 2 is more complex, more mellowed out, and just an overall better tasting experience. Glass number 1 is a bit more in your face, a bit brighter, a bit fruitier, and just kind of like shines in your eyes if your eyes were your mouth with a huge spotlight. Second sip of glass 2. Justin Bieber's Bible study, that's a well-versed whiskey. Glass 2 is a whiskey masterpiece, is what I would call that. It does all the things that you would want some of the world's best whiskey to do. Some of America's best bourbon. Some of Tennessee's most titillating tasters. Some of Lynchburg's most libacious lip teasers. Let's go back to glass 1 just to make sure that the decision I think I already have in my head is the correct decision. Glass number 1 is much more fruit forward, astringent, and harsh. Referee Matt Porter has called a stop to this bourbon skirmish at 3 minutes and 42 seconds of the very first round, declaring the winner by technical knockout due to a liver shot. Glass number 2. Now, let's see which Jack 12 reigns supreme. And the winner is Jack Daniel's 12-year batch number 1. Batch number 1 is what I would consider to be a much better whiskey than 12-year batch 2. And that is just me telling you the God's honest truth. Do I like batch 2? Yeah. Do I like it a lot? Absolutely. Does it hold a candle to batch number 1? What does that even mean? No, I don't think so. If it means what I think it means. In a world where we can compare 2 whiskeys side by side and determine which one rides and which one dies, today was a good day. If I were in the 8th grade and this were a whiskey drinking test, I would have gotten an A+. Should have mentioned this earlier, but subscribe if you're not. Hit the thumbs up whether you like this video or not. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on renting a duplex for another year. Will I buy my first home before I'm 40? Times are running out. But time is also running out on other things, like my hair that's not gray, like my Hot Pocket in the microwave, and the batteries in my smoke detectors that are at the top of 12-foot ceilings. Son of a bitch. Forgot I gotta change those. I've done it 3 years in a row and I've yet to fall. But I feel like my time in that area is running out as well. I should buy a parachute.